Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final speaker session, a live mentoring session today at Unit Masters Cohort 5. So after having gone through a journey together of learning about blockchain, of how the evolution of Web 3.0 happens, and then we dive deeper into blockchain incentive mechanisms and theory design. We looked into DeFi projects and exchanges. We looked into a bit from a bird's perspective on actually what is stakeholder capitalism and how do we actually shape the future of our economy to make it a more equitable economy for all. We have with us today Gabriel, who actually is an expert in looking into technologies that shape the future. He has an expertise in deep tech, but also very much involved into sustainability, impact investment, and they can share with us, hopefully, Gabriel, first your story of how did you actually enter the blockchain? What are you doing with Urano Capital and your other ventures? And how do you foresee the future of DeFi, and how can actually DeFi or any kind of blockchain projects contribute for good? That would be super amazing to hear your views. I'm quite impressed with all the things that you share with me every year now and all your research that you're doing. It's quite, forward looking. So thank you very much for sharing your views with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Jeep. It was great. Thank you for inviting me here to the cohort and all the group here. Welcome. And it was great to meet you here in Zurich, actually. That we spent a few days here. It was great to finally see you, meet you and your team. That was super fun. So yeah. So quickly to introduce myself, I'm Gabriel Zanko. I'm originally from Caracas, from Venezuela. And long story short, my background has been always finance. I work, in the corporate world, like PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then I went to Nokia Siemens and all these typical corporate. And I, in a way, got tired of the corporate world and working long hours, 16 hours per day, and fighting for a promotion every year. So I tried always to open my own company or at least be independent. That was almost 7 years ago. And I made the switch. I made the decision when I realized I made a great connections. I was having a great network, but I wasn't doing anything new with that network in a way. And I like people. I like to connect. And I remember in that time, fintech was quite hot. That was even before Bitcoin and blockchain. It's just fintech and AI, and then became all the innovation, the chatbots and the banking system, trying to create new products. And I got really interested in that. So I opened the first company, which is MobileyourLife, which began just as a consulting company and then switched more into what is now like an investment banking. And I started raising capital to this type of technologies, especially at the beginning was fintech and AI. And then obviously when I read the paper of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, I got so blown away by the technology and the approach. And just the fact that was anonymous for me, the creator, Satoshi, for me, that was so interesting. Like, wow, I cannot believe this is happening in that way, And I really got interested in future technologies, in futuristic people, and, how to help society with the technologies, Because in a way, I come from Venezuela, and these countries are unfortunately very corrupt with the governments and the politicians. And I knew technology could be a tool to improve so much systems in our nations. And Bitcoin suddenly was disrupting every concept that we had. So a long story short, I have two ventures. One is MobileyourLife, which is the investment banking. Now with Urano Capital is the fund we are forming here in Liechtenstein to invest in the technologies. And it's been a ride because I started with, as I told you, fintech and AI, but then went to blockchain. Then it went also to renewable energy and deep tech scientists, because many of these scientists were trying to raise capital through the initial coin offerings back, in 2017. And I got approached with very interesting people from space tech, lunar-based rockets to the moon, and solar and wind and nuclear innovation. I mean, things that I didn't even know existed. And I was interested to get involved in a way, and basically was always being helping to find the capital for this innovation. Then I also started investing as an angel in some of the companies we were raising capital, because I wanted to get some skin in the game. And And yeah, so that's what I've been doing the last 3-4 years, right? Uh, and yeah, happy to talk a little bit of everything. We can obviously talk about Bitcoin and or the future, how to predict the future. And I always say, when you want to see the future, or how the future will look like, we have to go back to history a little bit and see what happened before in order to predict or try to understand some events that might be happening down the road, down the line. For example, with Bitcoin specifically, when we see what happened with Bitcoin almost 12 years ago, it's like you understand that back in the centuries, the Roman Catholic Church was controlling basically the whole system, the monetary system. They had everything. The state and the church were kind of like together, no, controlling everything. No? Then it happened the first event when the state got separated from the church. They were not, align the same objectives. So then you see a break when some states start putting it back to the Vatican, to the Catholic Church. We're not, the financial system was kind of like broken in that time. And then you had the state and the church controlling the system the last 500 years. So when it appeared Bitcoin, as you know, it's the first time that you see an innovation in the financial system that is not involving the state. So it's not centralized. So it's the first time that you see an innovation in the financial markets that is not controlled or created by the state. No? So that for me was like the biggest breakthrough. But this is it. This is the change. No, this is the beginning. And Bitcoin is just the first application, the money application, let's call it like that, into the whole blockchain ecosystem, right? Now, after that, after Bitcoin, obviously it appeared the second breakthrough that was Ethereum. When it appeared the Ethereum blockchain and the smart contract. I like it because even more in a spiritual way, I think Ethereum and Vitalik, the team, are kind of replicating in a way the laws of the universe, because you are creating in a platform any type of reality you want, any product, any app. With the smart contract, you are giving some order to create and interact between each other in a very magical way. We can call it like that. No? For sure, it needs innovation. The gas fees are high, and you see other blockchains right now popping up, Solana, Polkadot, etc. But the main key is that it's the first time that in a decentralized, open way, we can interact each other without depending on the government. And me coming from Venezuela, that was very powerful, because I thought, wow, if I don't trust my government and I can grow and create a new economy for me, my tribe, my family, without depending on the government, that for me was quite powerful, right? So I think even not only in blockchain, you see right now how the world is transitioning into a more decentralized way of living. You see people working from home or just being a freelancer. They don't depend even in a central company directly. It's just trying to offer their services. And now when you have the blockchain as a vehicle of innovation, it's very powerful. How you see now, like I would see the power is shifting more into the power of the people, the power of the masses together, joining and co-creating, than depending on the government, depending that the government will take care of you. If you pay your taxes, you have this and this. I think this is shifting, and already the government realized it. The state already realized this power. So as always, they start, banning Bitcoin, banning cryptocurrencies, but then they realize they have to replicate at least the technology in a way to offer the same services. Otherwise, the states will change so much. They have to emerge into a new type of state. Otherwise, I think down the road they will disappear as we know them, because they cannot interact each other like that anymore. And especially after pandemic, what we live with the COVID situation, I think they realize they need to do better decisions, right? So obviously you see now the CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies, trying to replicate some of the blockchain layers of the cryptocurrencies, but it's still not the same, no? Because it still is a centralized party, no? So the question will always be right now, if are we going into a full decentralized world, which we're not depending in any type of state, or it would be like a mix, no, like a balance. Because again, if you go through history, you see how the states create the markets, no? These anarchic libertarian nations, at the end, they were not able to create a solid market for people, no? So the question would be how this interaction would be. The balance would be 50-50, 60-40 in centralized, decentralized, until we'll reach a point that maybe the state is more mature and they allow to interact between each other in a more decentralized ways. But I think the good news is that this is not going away. So I think we're just in the beginning. And even for Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin has a lot to do right now. You can even, with the decentralized finance, you can also build on top of Bitcoin. I think that's also very, very interesting. And you see it. I mean, you see it, for example, in Colombia, most of the people don't have bank accounts. A lot of people don't have even bank accounts. It's too expensive for them to maintain. But opening a wallet in a decentralized application is cheaper, and basically saving accounts are disappearing in a way because you get a better interest, a better stake in your wallets, and you don't need to depend on a bank, you know. So I think it's a very, very powerful thing for the human. I think it's a very powerful time for the human beings in order to create. No? And you know this, you know how now with the artists are earning money through, you know, tokenizing their artwork, or writers or musicians. So it's kind of like a renaissance in a way, no? Not only in the technology aspect, but also in the creativity aspect. No, I think that's very powerful. No, because I really glad when I see people earning money right now, artists that they never had any money and now they are, you know, co-creating in this type of change. No, so I think that's one piece that's very exciting.
Yeah, amazing use case, financial inclusion. Do you want to share with us, like, you know, because as an investor, you receive so much deal flow and you get always the latest thoughts of people put on paper, presented
Yeah.
to you, of course, asking for money. What are like great trends that you're seeing? Where is, you know, the market moving?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that is really exciting for me, and I wasn't aware until, you know, 1 year ago, is that what is happening in the moon and the moon economy. So for example, you see now NASA and ESA investing billions to go to the moon. Although we see a lot in the news going to Mars with Elon, but the moon is also quite interesting for these space stations because the moon, among other things, it has a lot of minerals that are necessary for our planet to renewable energy, you know, and for the nuclear fusion. So that once they discover that on the moon, extract it and bring it into the air, would be a big shift to the earth, and especially to the energy transition we're going, no? Into more from a renewable energy, green, sustainable. So the moon has minerals that we need on earth, and there is a lot of exploration from NASA, no? And I got connected recently, and we're helping a scientist in Italy, which is from Italy, but he lives in UK, and he's developing some rockets, lunar-based launcher, as they call it, to go to the moon and be kind of like a logistic company for NASA or for ESA to bring machinery, utilities, things to the moon. It's basically like bringing all the machinery to the moon and help the NASA to explore and extract the mineral. And they tell me they had the plan for 2030. So it's, you know, the next 8-9 years will be a massive growth to going to the moon. You know? So that's one that I'm really excited to helping them raise capital, allocate some investment to this type of innovation. And again, I think, and I told you this before, we talked about this, all this innovation that is very complex, also they need help from people, from the masses. And I think right now with the DeFi, if you can offer them to people to have access to this private innovation, but they can, you know, just contribute with a little bit through a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, that would be very powerful because you are, you know, going through power of masses to fund this innovation off the chain to help to the moon or whatever. And I think that token or that coin will represent a lot of power, because the main thing right now is these coins, how are they backed right now? Bitcoin or Ethereum or whichever, right? Other innovation that I'm seeing right now, also in the nuclear side, there is an element called thorium, which is the family of uranium, and it's very abundant in the planet. You can find it on the sand, in every sand on the planet, and it can produce so much energy, more efficient, and you know, it's good to transition from coal, no, and fuel based. So it's also very expensive, but it's also very exciting for the future, right? And completely green. It was shut down in the 60s in the US because it couldn't create nuclear weapons, so they kind of like shut down the thorium reactors. But now there is an innovation called small modular reactors, which are very small, very practical, and you can deploy all over the planet and produce green energy. So that's, for me, mind-blowing, super exciting. No? Those two, for example, are super interesting. For solar technology, you have also some concentrators, CSP technology, that store the heat, and then you can produce electricity 24/7. You don't depend on the typical solar panels that if it's rainy or cloudy, you don't get enough energy to sustain. No? And now you see with Bitcoin, the conversation with the proof of work, it consumes so much electricity from fossil fuels that is bad for the planet. It's consuming almost like a country like Norway or Argentina in the terawatt hour. It's insane, but that has a solution as well. And I think Bitcoin could be, in a way, helping to get more renewable energy usage. No, you've been Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey from Twitter saying that. No, so I think the most important would be in the next 17 years is the energy transition, trying to be full green with zero emissions. I think that's the main goal. No? And the main innovation I'm seeing is trying to tackle this. No, to some extent, yeah.
What are your biggest concerns? Like, okay, why I'm asking this question is, what you're describing to me sounds like moon colonialism. We're just like outsourcing our current problems on Earth linked to, our overconsumption to just another dimension. So what projects are there in the market, or are you having any concerns that these, or any other concerns that you're seeing with all these market developments, and what are we doing against it?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and you're right. I think now we're also living an era that these the big leaders, the big billionaires, are also like titans, and these guys at the end are trying, in a way, to obviously colonize the space. That's happening for sure, and we haven't even solved the problems in our planet, and we're already going to other planets, but basically to colonize and kind of like an empire, and dominate the space, our solar system, which seems so marvelous, like science fiction movies, but at the end it's happening slowly. And yes, we haven't fixed our planet, and I think the pandemic taught us about this, how to be more, again, connected between humans in a decentralized manner, and trying to be more aware. And I think if if we're not aware, we don't awaken, then the planet eventually, will collapse. We had like a warning right now with COVID going away. So it has to be. What I'm excited is that the innovation and the scientists. At the end, I'm very positive with the humans. I think we would like to survive, and we're very resilient. So I think there is a hope, a very interesting, positive outcome. On the other hand, it's like a battle, because you see a very dark forces trying to continue the same patterns that are not serving anymore. The states, the governments continue to do same type of policies that are not helping. But on the other hand, you see leaders trying to innovate and break through. And for me, the most close to me was Bitcoin and blockchain, because it really touched me in a way that, okay, I empower myself through blockchain and Bitcoin, and financially be independent through this mechanism that didn't depend on a job or a government or a pension, whatever. So I think if you can do that in one example as Bitcoin, you can do it in the other technologies, in renewable energy, in solar, in wind, water treatment. Despite having governments or leaders going into another direction, I think down the road the humans will win. In a way.
Yeah, how does this ideal world look like? You have a son, right? 10 years or 9 years old. How should the world look like for him when he grows up and becomes a decision maker? What do you think is like the new normal in the world of the future?
Wow, it's interesting. Yes, true. I have a son, a 10-year-old kid, and sometimes I get excited, sometimes I get scared, because sometimes also I see like a lot of tools to connect digitally and electronically, but also maybe humans are more disconnected, from each other or from themselves. People are, I think, social media is amazing to connect with people, but also people are more concerned about how they see themselves in social media than how they see themselves, internally. And then you lose your power in a way. So I think also humans it's a very interesting road. You can be very empowered through technology, or you could be destroyed. That depends on you at the end. No? So yeah, the future would look like, I think it's better with better opportunities for kids, for education. Now, for example, university. You don't need to go to a university to be a great entrepreneur, to be a great investor. You can learn all these tools actually decentralized manner, or even more affordable. So in that side, the energy transition should be even better in 10 years with less emissions. Blockchain, imagine if we're seeing this right now, innovation every single day. Imagine in 10 years how blockchains will interact, and the metaverse, the virtual world. That would be insane for kids. No? And especially my son is an artist. He's a great painter. So I want to put some art in the blockchain, as an NFT. So we'll see. But I think it's exciting. It's exciting in the world, but still, I'm concerned about humans, that maybe they got disconnected through all this technology, you know? And we disappear in a way. Not necessarily the AI, that AI is a threat right now and they will overtake humans. I not necessarily agree on the singularity, you know, like machines will take over the planet right now, not yet, because I think that the humans are very creative. They have emotions, machines are not creative. The AI right now, other nations, they not create themselves like, you know, like human with inspiration, you know, artistic side. So I think in that side, I'm not still concerned, but still humans are getting like overwhelmed by all these technologies. And so we need to, I don't know, take care of ourselves a little bit better, no?
Yeah, I totally agree. I
What do
was
you think?
wondering, you know,
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how does one not get overwhelmed with all this new technology? How do you do it actually, keeping up with all this research and not losing, you know, the big picture?
Yeah, that's a good point. The thing with the technologies is that, for example, the bad thing in technology, or in anything in life, there is also a lot of noise. And you have to be able to be aware of that, take out the noise, and then you will find the simple gems that are really happening, that are the real deal, whether in Bitcoin, in blockchain, energy, or whatever in your life. You have to take out the noise, which I think mostly is in social media. There is a lot of noise. But if you take out the noise, even social media can be great, a great tool to connect with real people and an amazing people. So if you take out the noise, it would be amazing. How you take out the noise, it depends. Again, you can do from exercise, walking in nature, meditation, depending what resonates more to you. And then definitely you will be more clear. You have a clear head, then it makes sense. No? And also you need help, no? Your team, otherwise you could collapse. No? Yeah. But again, I think it's that.
Let's talk DeFi, Gabriel.
Sure.
DeFi applications, right? You said there are a lot of new developments on the market where we can use DeFi for enhancing sustainability or even the climate, like the green climate movement. Do you have any specific examples? Can you share how that actually would work?
Yeah, no, what I had in mind, or that really got me excited on DeFi, besides the empowering the people with simple financial products that they never had at all, and now they can own with a simple wallet. You had your coins, you had some staking, but besides that, I think, I think I told you this in these days. It's like you see right now in the DeFi, the value locked in DeFi is like 90, 100 billion already. So much money, so much capital from masses. And if you can put a pipeline on those pools and connect it to the off-chain world, not necessarily the on-chain, but the real world, like real estate buildings, simple companies, simple scientists, and you can take from those pipelines to help them, I think it will benefit in a two-way street, you know? Both the blockchain, but also both the people or the innovation that is outside the blockchain. You know? For example, this space tech company that I told you, or the renewable energy, they need hundreds of millions of capital. But if you can tap the pipeline in DeFi, which is almost like the universe, it will supply as much as you want to you, then it makes sense to bring it to the real world. You know? So how you can do that, building applications or DAOs or IDOs through these chains and raise capital and be able to manage it and invest in these deals now. I think that's the most powerful way. Yeah.
What about DAOs? You mentioned them.
Yeah.
How do you define a DAO, and like, how does DAO contribute to societal progress?
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, so DAOs is like, these decentralized organizations that everyone can vote, and depending on how much shares you have or how much interest you have, you can vote on certain decisions. It might be from the theory point of view is beautiful. Maybe from the practical point of view, to get we'd agree with all these people. It's very democratic as well, for sure. But we have to see if these new organizations with people will shift toward the decisions, or it doesn't get messy. At the end, you need leaders, and you need a way to interact that you have a leader, and then they follow. But obviously, you have voting rights to the people, but it have to be in a very efficient way. I was reading a book in history, on the empires and Roman Empire and all these empires. I mean, they were really restricted with people, but they allow all the jurisdiction of the empire to have their own, let's say, kind of like DAOs in that way. So Roman Empire had, all over Europe, but they allowed every city, every town to allow themselves to interact between each other in a way that they have some type of autonomy, but also, paying the tribute to the empire. So in a way, it was almost like more efficient than like a democracy. But yeah, we can talk about that other day, But I think we can replicate something of that empire economics to this type of DAOs in a way that you have a leader, but also you allow all people to interact and build on top of you, kind of like Ethereum is doing right now. It's like a mini empire which is growing, but you can grow with them, in a way. So I think in that sense makes more sense than the typical companies like Google, Facebook that are very centralized. They sell your data. You don't participate in the ecosystem. So I think that is shifting to a completely new reality. And I think all that are here are very aligned with that, to this new decentralized open reality that is more human.
Yeah. Can you just explain to us in which way does blockchain technology facilitate, or is it actually blockchain technologies, or is there any other ingredient that actually helps with making DAOs or any kind of vision of more collaborative economy a reality? What is the functioning mechanism behind that?
Yeah, I mean, you are seeing it right now. I think Ethereum is one super example. I think through Ethereum, you can build your own mini world in the chain and interact with people. And if I want to create a wallet, I give it to the Colombians, and they open an account in that wallet through the token, the ERC20 token. That's it. You start living in a new ecosystem. And blockchain for me is like a vehicle. I see it like a vehicle to move, to propel you forward, whatever you want. We're seeing right now mostly financial applications, but I think, and Vitalik was telling about that Ethereum plans to be also a vehicle for other type of innovation, not necessarily financial applications. So I think as a vehicle of innovation, as a vehicle of getting capital, and also as a vehicle to include the humans, include people to participate in the whole economy. If you stake, if you have some voting rights, and then you co-create with other people in the chain, then I think it's a better world, because right now you see governments, they give laws and orders, and we have to follow. But in the blockchain, they're giving you the right to also actively participate, actively, lead in a way, and that's more powerful. And there's also so many people right now in the planet that you need that type of mechanisms rather than just a president, whatever, just to dictate.
And what are your major concerns about what could go wrong in the blockchain market? Where do we still need to do a lot of development to have a good mechanism that reaches consensus, or any kind of harmonious world that you just mentioned?
Wow, that's good. I think, well, you still have the governments, and they are also in the race of building a blockchain layer to their infrastructure in the government. No? For example, if CBDCs become a reality and they become a good product, and the decentralized application don't scale, I think that's the risk. If they don't scale the blockchains, and the governments wins the race again in creating these type of crypto products or digital products through a blockchain layer, then we have the risk of the decentralized not scaling enough, and maybe humans still going in that more centralized manner. I think that would be the risk to continue going very centralized versus decentralized. But I don't think so. But that could be a risk. Yeah.
And we have a question from the audience.
Sure.
Brad is asking, what are the common considerations with investors that you encounter?
So yeah, investor specifically in blockchain, what I see their focus is investing in protocols that are helping enhance the speed of the blockchains. Blockchains still lack the speed to scale the user base like Visa or traditional centralized companies has. So I think speed, velocity is a key in blockchains in order to be normal for people in the planet, as a normal product. In a way, Facebook and the centralized companies succeed in that because they could scale their solution very fast. They didn't depend on the same problems we have with the blockchains. With Ethereum, Ethereum couldn't scale as much as Facebook did in Facebook in the same type of years, right? So I think that's the key, and investors are focusing a lot on that. Yeah.
We have another question from Hina. She asks, what do you think about metaverse? Maybe you also define what is metaverse for you.
Sure. So metaverse is like, entering into this new virtual world, new world of possibilities, like maybe your fantasy world becoming digital, and you can enter into that world, like a new reality, like a new parallel universe. And the world is also, besides shifting to decentralized to centralized, also going into a metaverse, a more virtual world, VR, and you can create and have so much things. I mean, a new economy, a new government, a new country in that metaverse, and you can invest it and own it. And again, I think that's very powerful. I think also very spiritual, because at the end, it's like you are in a new dimension, co-creating and owning something that you don't touch, right? It's intangible, but you have it and exist, and you can be wealthy in that metaverse, for me, but the danger again in that is that humans go to that metaverse and we don't focus also on what is happening in this plane. Besides the metaverse being amazing, I think it's not getting overwhelmed again by that you lose in the metaverse and you don't come back. But I'm maybe exaggerating. Yeah, something like that. But metaverse, yeah, it's interesting for sure. You see how people are investing in all these, lands, virtually lands, and the art, and you create a city basically on that. Like when I play Minecraft with my son, it's like you are co-creating worlds in, whatever you want.
You're also a musician, right? In some way, you're an artist too, Gabriel. You and your son.
Yeah.
What are the most exciting kind of innovations and possibilities that are already actually possible right now for artists and musicians to tap into the world of blockchain? Where are we?
Yeah,
what
that's
is the
true.
status quo?
That's true. And peak artists are living a great moment right now. Not only the painters with the art that they can mint, they can tokenize their work, but also musicians with their songs. So imagine co-owning and helping a musician in your local city to grow through the blockchain. I think, wow, that's very powerful. That didn't happen before. They had to depend on a record, a manager, so many intermediaries to get a concert, a gig. And now with the blockchain, they can, release a song and they can co-create it and co-own it with many people. And they can do even the digital metaverse concerts without going into a physical place and grow globally faster. So that's very powerful. No? And I was talking to an investor recently, and we were discussing the idea, imagine history, because we read history through books and that's it. And you don't know history. History is a mystery. They say history is written by the people who won the battles, who won the war. They write the history basically. But imagine if you can record your voice telling a story of your own town and put it on the blockchain, also like a non-fungible token. that can also record the story of at least your own version and have a value there forever. No, so I think that's very powerful as well. And imagine that. Also, I think possibilities are endless in that side. Yeah, for writers, for musicians, for painters, poetry.
Yeah. There's still a lot of work to be done there, though, right? Are we having any functional systems already or platforms in place where people could just go and already do that, or are we still at the stage of development?
I know with the story, I think it's more in the stage of development. Yeah. But I think it will come soon.
No, pretty lots of opportunities in the space. So now each of us here in the room, if we were like impact investors or wanted to be impact investors, tapping into this tokenized ecosystem that you just described earlier, what are our steps? What should we actually do as of now to be able to contribute in shaping that beautiful world of the future?
Yeah, for sure, Jib. Thank you for that, and thank you for inviting me. I think that we are building, we're designing this protocol and this DAO, and once it's live, I'm happy to share with all the tribe here in Unit, and also happy to share more about what we're doing in the fund and the deals we have. So at least a feedback, it would be amazing. If you can contribute, that would be even better. But yeah, I think it's that the feedback, and if you want to co-participate, I always need help. So for sure.
I think we typically wrap up our session unless somebody has like another question for Gabriel in the chat, and this is your chance now.
Sure.
To do that.
Let me see the chat.
We're monitoring it for you. If there's no more questions, cool. Our question for wrapping up Unit Master sessions is typically, Gabriel, what has been one of your most exciting or happiest moments along your career?
In my whole life, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I have a few ones, but I think when my son was born, that was one of the biggest ones 10 years ago. That was like, wow, the most amazing. And after that, I would say the most amazing was when I jumped from the corporate world to the more independent, and then I got into the crypto world. For me, that was like, wow, changing my whole life basically. So it was like a mind blowing for me. It was a good breakthrough. So I would say those two has been the most interesting. For sure.
Okay, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Yeah, Jeep, thank you.
And for sharing, your insights and your life experience with the Unit community. I think we need to have a chat next time about your view on the token economy driven by Unit. We haven't had the time. I didn't have the time to update you on what's happening on our side.
Please, I know.
That's for our next conversation.
No, thank you, Jeep. And I have to say, I love Unit. How are you doing? It's very interesting. I love the community, and you're growing so much. So yeah, I love to be involved.
What do you love about us, about our community?
Well, I start with, I remember Michael invited me to the tribe, and I remember when he had the platform for the yoga instructors, the artists, and also I started doing the classes when you have it, like 1 year ago, I think. And I also learned a lot from interesting investors, people, and also met you recently. So I like the vision down the road, the co-living, the try concept, put it on the blockchain to co-create all together in different locations. I like it. Yeah. You're building your own empire. Yeah.
We're building the token-driven economy. Yeah, just exactly. For all of those, just some context. Gabriel was participant or beta tester, I would better say, in our Unit cohort 1, where we just started to build the product. This what you're having now, the 6 weeks program, was a little bit unstructured in the first cohort, and he was there and generous enough to stick with us and now becoming a contributor to Unit Master. So thank you very much for being with us, and everybody else. This was beautiful to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeep. I really enjoyed. And anyone, when they want to reach me, go to, in LinkedIn, they can reach me with Gabriel Zanko, or my email is gabrielzanko@MobileyourLife.com. Feel free to reach out, or you, Jeep, whatever, how you like.
All right. Happy Thursday, everyone. And
likewise.
Keep connected.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.